Welcome on my first step ever. It's so exciting to share that we have crossed a milestone 150 episodes, but we are still going strong because the stories of taking your first step and the way that a journey unfolds never really ends. There's so many inspiring people out there, but it is not really about, looking at that journey and comparing yourself. It is actually about looking at that journey and understanding that it takes a lot to be where you really want to be, and it's only a reminder that hey, you're still in your journey, you're still yet to cross those small steps to get to the first step, and that's so that you can keep holding on. And you never know, you might get an idea or some light bulb moment for you from the amazing stories that you hear. Now this episode is going to be an extremely special episode because it's about resilience, it's about really finding oneself, and also how do you face challenges in your journey to be where you want to be. Please join me welcoming the amazing guest speaker all the way from Australia today, Divesh Sareen. Divesh, welcome on my first step ever.
Thank you, Shani, for having me and for everyone else who's listening to this.
So I'm extremely excited because straight off the bat, I would like to say that you recently hosted an event and you invited Brett Lee. He was the chief guest over there. So it's amazing. Would love to talk a bit about the experience as well. But before that, let's get to the heart and the star of the show, which is you. So Devesh, an entrepreneur from India, migrated to Australia at the age of 21, driven by the desire to uplift his family's socio-economic situation. Now, born into hardship, he chose to arrive in Australia with almost nothing. Over the years, he has led tech teams and delivered innovative solutions globally. Now, that is a great progress. Through his book series, The Indian Maid, Devesh shares stories of resilience from 1947 partition and his experiences as a migrant in Australia. Highlighting the challenges and triumphs of adapting to a new culture, he aims to inspire underdogs by sharing his journey. Now, there are many of us who call ourselves underdogs, and this is exactly what we are going to be uncovering today in this episode. A strategic thinker and a technology solutions architect, Devesh advises startups and helps organizations grow. He also enjoys spending time with his family, exploring new ideas, and learning new skills. Guided by the belief that the hardest battles are given to the bravest soldiers. Wow, this is interesting, and this is quite, I think, relatable to a lot of people, will resonate with a lot of people. And if they ever question that why me, then probably this is an answer to that. And he strives to live a purposeful life and support others in achieving their dreams. So we are very happy that you're here, Devesh, because we're going to unpack all that in this episode today. Now let us trace back to the very beginning of your childhood and your journey so that we understand that what kind of mindset were you surrounded with the people that you were growing with. So please take us through that your childhood days.
I grew up in Punjab in India. It's a state up in the north. So I was a very naughty kid, like, always getting into trouble for something mischievous. I didn't really have a lot of focus. But as I started growing up, like around year nine, is when I actually found a mentor in my cousin as well. And I found a teacher I could connect with, which made me from getting 4 out of 100 in maths to 90 plus in maths. So that was like a big drastic jump with that kind of thing. So just having good people around me in my life started making me get to the progression. And also, as I was growing up, I could see the problems in the house where I could do better. And being the eldest son, I could play a role in, like helping mom and dad, helping my brother. Is how my journey started in a little city called Ludhiana in Punjab, like I said before, is where the problems actually gave me a focus, is what I would say.
Thank you so much, Devesh, for sharing a bit about your family and your upbringing, your surroundings, what you were surrounded with, the situations. And it's very interesting. I think we all would like to know the mentor who really helped you go from 4 to 90. The world needs the mentor, but I think it was definitely your hard work as well. uh, just before we move into the next aspect of your life, I think I'd like to ask one thing over here. A lot of people, they are growing up and surrounded by difficult times, and often it really forms our beliefs, our thought process. This is how life is and this is how it's going to be. We seldom find people who are maybe aware of things, about aware of themselves. What were your beliefs at that point in time?
See, my beliefs are very logical and practical in the sense that, okay, this is a problem. Yes, it's an unfortunate position to be in. Not that ideally you want to be in, when, or maybe when you look at other people around you, you think, oh, this person's life's better than mine. But at the end of the day, you've got to think how it's going to get better. It's only going to get better when you do something about it. You've got to make it work with the best of what you've got. Everyone does have their own problems. Like, so just thinking that you're the only one with problems is probably not um, fair in a way. But also at the same time, it's an opportunity for you to solve. I mean, like, think of superheroes. That's what they do. They come and solve problems, right? For others. So those are the kind of things I used to have in my mindset. Oh, that would be a good challenge to solve. Oh yeah, I think I can push myself a little bit more and at least give it a crack, even if you made a little bit of progress. So
Love it.
yeah, that's how I used to still do. That's how I used to approach, and yeah.
That's a really great way of looking at things, Devesh. And I think that is the reason that you are where you are right now. And for all my listeners out there, you're watching, you're listening, if you feel that you haven't had that mindset so far, it's completely fine. It is like conversations like these, or meeting people who have that kind of perspective that can change and bring the positive change. So if there's anything that you can take away from this particular chat right now, is that if you have not been on that journey mentally, this is going to be a very, very interesting takeaway for you, that probably you can change the mindset that, yes, I have a lot of challenges, but let me see what I can make out of it. So, Devesh, I love that you had a very logical mind. This is a problem. Let's look at the solution. What's the next best thing? We often get overwhelmed thinking that what would the larger picture look like, whereas we don't even see what the next best thing that we can do, which doesn't really require that much effort and that much resources. So for my next question would be for you, is that what was your next best thing, like up till the age of 21 while living in India? What were you doing to around that age that you became an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so when I was in India, like up till the age of 21, like since finishing school, I was getting ready to come to Australia. So, or, being able to work out how to pay my fee, or just preparing myself that when I am in Australia, that I want to be able to like run. But to be able to run that marathon, like you need to do your drills at home before that, because these mistakes in India are going to cost me rupees, whereas the one in Australia is going to cost me dollars. So, like, along with my uni, like in a city like Ludhiana, which was uncommon at that time, I would do a night shift teaching mathematics to kids in US, or I would go and do evening or admin jobs or call center jobs and stuff like that. I took training in all those things that are going to help me when I'm actually in Australia. Started saving money, getting into the habit of managing the uni workload with actual job. So all those things I already started picturing that are going to happen when I go to Australia. So occasionally you would talk to someone here, you'll make that expensive international call, talk for a couple of minutes, and then you're like, what do you do? And they'll tell you that, okay, I go to uni or this and that. And then I was well, I'm still like, I was curious from this get go that, okay, you question the people who come back from overseas. What does your day look like? How do you manage your workload? What's your expenses like? So those are the kind of things I used to do a lot. So to answer your question, at the age of 21, I prepared myself for this life.
This is excellent. I can see a far ahead vision you had. Uh, but along with that, after you had maybe a vision that you had for yourself, you made a plan, there were goals, and then you broke that into actions, which is most important. You asked the right questions to the right people, and I can already see that you were already living a migrant life back in India before coming here, doing part-time job in the evening. And that's what it is actually like to begin with, for a lot of our listeners who are still planning to like to migrate to a different country, or even to a different city in your own country. Challenges are something that becomes part of life, and you need to operate out of that. So it's very interesting to see, Devesh, that I think you had a very logical mind. I think I can definitely see the engineer mind working over there. There's a problem, you plan out, you organize, you kind of have strategies, you have goals, and then you get working on that and get meeting those goals. Before we fly to Australia with you, I have a quick question over here, Devesh. Sometimes we are not able to achieve our goals, the small goals. Maybe in your plan, you started, working besides your uni, you were preparing yourself for this life. You must have had certain goals. Was there any such goal that you couldn't meet around the timeline that you really wanted? If yes, how did you really process that emotion?
Yeah, I mean, taking setbacks as well. I mean, it's hard. One of them was not being able to go to Australia initially at the time that I wanted to. I didn't have enough money. So that was a setback in itself. You know, something you're preparing for in your graduate life. You've got your whole roadmap kind of set up. If this is how you're going to live your life, or this is what you prepared for, and suddenly you find out, oh, it's not going to happen. So that was a big one. But again, what do? You put your head down for a day or two, but then you get up and get going. And what I did after my bachelor's was I kind of took a gap year, you can say, and I started working at Dell in Mohali, which is near Chandigarh, where I would go and work there full time, save the money. You know, that's like, okay, I'm going to spend a year and that contribution is going to go towards my fee for Australia and stuff like that. So even that wasn't getting enough, where I'm probably going too much into the emotional part of it now. Um,
Please do.
yeah, it's like I started living on 2 meals a day from three. It's like, okay, well, this is what I can do. What else can I do to save money? So I got to the point of the cousin I told you about, like, be very close. So he said to me that, okay, I think that's enough now. He gave me money, like remaining balance of it, or like a big chunk of it, I should say, because I couldn't save enough. He gave me money from his business account without telling his dad as my first fee. That he got to the point that, okay, we have to do this now. So he could see that, like, you know, it's not gonna stop, and he's like, okay, if I can help you save 2 3 years of all this, I'm gonna do it. So that's how we dealt with setbacks. So I think the answer to people listening to this is you do the next best thing that's available, and the people in your network would be there in time of your need. Um, they'll probably offer it themselves without you even asking if you're genuine and they see you making the effort. Because as humans, we do want to help each other.
Firstly, Devesh, thank you so much for taking us through a very personal part of your journey. I think it definitely is very challenging, and no one really wants to relive those days. But thank you for sharing that, because by opening up that little window in your heart today, you have shared what the podcast really is trying to convey, is that the road is not simple, the road is not straight. Sometimes that you really think of, it doesn't really happen in the time, in the way that you really want. But what is really important, two things that I just kind of learned from your journey, is that first, that something goes wrong, process that emotion, give it the time it needs, but switch off from that ASAP, you
Yeah,
know. So that is very important, because once you have had a situation, you felt something, there's I would say there's no good in ignoring your emotions. Feel your emotions, but switch off from that if that emotion really doesn't serve you for a very long time. Second thing is that do your best, and you never know that people around you, in many ways, God or whoever, the universe, whoever you really believe in, it always comes around. If you really want something very badly and you've been putting all your effort, it comes around in many and very different ways. And this is not just from what I have heard from Devesh's story so far. I've also heard this from a couple of people's stories. I've seen them really struggling to the bits, and they have nothing left and they don't know what to do, and things help has arrived to them in some way or the other. So if you really are passionate and you really have the conviction that what you want to do is what you want to do, and you're really working towards it, something or somewhere will really make it work for you. So Devesh, thank you so much for taking a pause over here, reflecting on that very important part of your life, because I think that is all worth it. And from here, really, like, I think, thanks to your amazing, amazing cousin, I think he would be very happy to see you where you are here today. So that is amazing. So now we would love to, fly with you when that really happened for you. I feel like so happy. It's like we are in a movie and now we are going past the stage. So when you flew to Australia and you had already prepped yourself for the migrant life, you were doing everything, but still, was it the same life that you were prepping for, or how was it different?
It was very different. And I think the short answer is you can't prepare enough for a move to a country like Australia or anywhere, I would say, because I can highlight a few things. One of them being I was on the airplane, like an international flight for the first time as a young kid. I copied what the guy next to me had done for the form, and I did not take milk products because it's like, yeah, I'll make it easy. And there's a sweet dish called kaju burfi. So I had that with me, and because I hadn't taken milk products, they chucked it all in front of me because I hadn't taken it. So that was like my first experience. That in this country, you've got to be very careful.
Yeah,
Um, you've got to really go by the rules, otherwise you wouldn't go well. The second part was the call center work that I had been doing was in US. So when I came to Australia, it's like, do I even know English or what's going on? It's like, am I in a different world? Because the Australian lingo is very different from actual US English. So that was a big change. And then it's full on in the sense of looking for job, being a student, making friends, all of those things you can never prepare for. So
absolutely.
yeah, like your experience might not mean much in a lot of cases as well.
Wow, this is, I think, another interesting aspect of life and journey. When you are trying to work towards your life, you do have plans. You are doing what you really can, and you prepped yourself. But turns out that life can be very, very surprising and ups and downs. So by far, I think my listeners, you can see that, if you have planned a lot of things for yourself and then you ended up like, what even happening? Like, I did my best, this is the best that I could do, I had my plans, I had my research, I had everything done, and this is nothing what I thought of. It is okay, because that's how life is all about, and that's why I think it is so important that what you're sharing today. Interestingly, for any migrant, flying anywhere these days, we have a lot of orientations happening in their home country itself to, prep
Yeah,
themselves up for what it is to be, what it looks like before you fly in, about all the visa, migration details and everything. So that is all a great deal for you. So from here, Devesh, I would really love to understand that now you're entering the new land of Australian land. How did you plan your move towards your, your professional journey, and what was the challenges that you faced?
sure. In terms of planning my professional journey, work wise, and getting used to Australia, it was a bit of a shock initially. That, like I said, the Australian lingo part of it, the studies part of it, making friends. So when you move as a migrant, you're thrown in this deep end challenge, but at the same time, you're taken away with all the support system you're used to. Even calling my friends was a big deal. You would go to the Indian shop, get a calling card at that time. We didn't have the easy, like, I wouldn't say easy actually, it's probably more competitive now. We could not, like, the easy first step to get into jobs was like your Uber and DoorDash, all these jobs that you could do today, they were not there at that time. So initially, I was lucky to get a job at a servo, but that has its own story. But I did what I could. I didn't have that high horse of, oh, I've worked as a Dell technician or I'm a bachelor's in business. Again, you're like, I'm in a new place. I've got to make the effort to make things work. And this is what I have to do to be able to pay my fee, send money to my family. So change that mindset around. I'll do whatever I can to get through these challenges. If I have to go and mop a floor in McDonald's or, work in the kitchen and learn new things, then that's something I did. So that's how I dealt with my challenges and building my new support network, like seeing in uni which people are like me, talking to new people or making effort to make new friends. And we could help each other during assignments, or they're there to listen to my problems. And just like I am there for them. That's what helped me get through that.
Interesting, Devesh. I think this is something that you mentioned really caught my attention, which was, your support system is taken away. And the challenges that you face, it was quite a different time around that. You didn't have, many means to, earn as soon as possible. Like now we do definitely have. But you did find a way even at that point in time. What I do want to ask over here is, when your support system is taken away, it's you all by yourself. Yes, you are making new connections, you're meeting new people, your network is expanding in different ways, and different culture that you are embracing, or maybe understanding and maybe not embracing. That's all cool, what really works with you. But this is a time when you're all by yourself, mentally, emotionally, physically. When people discover a lot about themselves, was this the time you really uncovered something about yourself that you had no idea about, that now underpins the person that you are?
I haven't thought of that point ever like that. So thank you for pushing me for that. Um, I think what I did discover was that any problem that comes in, like it's probably not enough to take me down. Was the one thing in like there's this saying Saval Aknalik. I don't know if you speak Punjabi. There's like your mindset is good enough to fight 125,000. Um, that's the kind of like thing I discovered. Like, okay, if there's a problem, like as an elder kid or as someone who's there for others or myself, I can only get to the point if I don't give in. And if I could do anything for my family, then let this be one of them. Those are the kind of
Excellent.
things I had in mind and that I discovered was okay, well, this is a great opportunity for me. And the more I do and the more I can get going, the faster we can solve a lot of the problems that surround us at the moment.
Lovely. So, resilience, having immense self belief, and having that attitude of, whatever it comes, I know that I can go past that. Because it's very interesting, when you live all by yourself, whether you think of it or not, you I think very naturally you develop some sort of survival instincts, which is in everyone, but it becomes really prominent. And now you know that if you're thrown into any situation, you yourself can help yourself. This is a kind of a mindset, I think, one really doesn't really delve into when you have your near and dear ones, because you're like, oh, we'll do it together, or we someone's there to kind of help, something will happen. But when you're all by yourself, you understand that you have that within you to really make it work for you. So the way from here, I can see that you were in the world of startup, and you wrote your own book. Now you are into the migrant space. You do a lot for migrants, and you have recently launched an app for migrants. I would really love to know that. What I think the first time I got to know about you was from LinkedIn, following you. There's an event that you conduct annually where you showcase migrant stories. So please take us through interesting aspect of your life today, that how you're giving back to the migrant society.
Yeah, sure. I'll go a step back so I can relate and build how this got to a build up.
Yes.
So, like about 7 years ago, I was able to sponsor my mom, dad, and brother. So, how you said we flew to Australia when the airport guy chucked out my burfie. He's like, if at that time they would have said, write down everything you want to achieve in Australia, it was done 7 years ago. So that I would have written down. So then for me, it was like, what do I do now? So again, the power was okay. Well, I've been lucky to learn a lot from a lot of people here in Australia and in India. Like India made me ready for what I am, and Australia gave me the platform. And the best thing I can do is help the next Divesh. And also, I felt there was a big need here in Australia with all the Uber driver jokes or 7-Eleven jokes that you would listen every odd now and then working in corporates, this and all that. And you're like, okay, I think it's the education piece that is missing for the locals as well, who don't understand what actually a person goes through, who's left all their family and friends. So that's where I started writing my own book. I was like, okay, I'm going to give it a crack. I'm not sure if like a lot of your viewers might not know about it. It's called The Indian Mate, where it's a 2 volumes where I painted half of my face as the Indian flag, half as the Australian, and you combine
Lovely.
and makes the hybrid. The goal was to showcase the culture of two countries, what a person belonging to two countries looks like, and the challenges that even they go through, and highlighting the challenges of international students, and at the same time sharing it as something the next Divish in India or anywhere in the world is thinking of coming can probably do better than. So Those were the kind of things which we did. And since writing my own book, it became very obvious to, like, since I met more people, I could feel the gap that, okay, these people want to share their own story, or these people, like, if they don't know English that well, or they can't transform their feelings, that's something I'm going to make a part of my life. And that's where Migrant's Life started last year. So we're making it a foundation now. Every year we collect stories of people, we edit it, and we showcase it as an exhibition. So people from like different countries come together as a community under one roof. Like we did a project at the museum last year with an Italian background actress, Pia Miranda, and this time we did it with Brett Lee. And at the same time, I built a social platform called Migrant Circle, which is like Quora and Reddit for, you can think of migrant topics.
Amazing.
Where you go and put a question on there what you need help with, and people are subscribed to get notifications in the area. So that's something we've just finished, so something we'll be working on.
That's exciting, Devesh. And I love that, when you were done with your goals, that's when, like what's next. And then you took it to the next level. I love that you have created an app just for migrants, and it sounds really interesting, the Migrant Circle. I believe it's for everyone who is looking for that sort of a support, or wants to contribute and share their stories. There will be millions such moments, I think, that can be captured within that community, that application. And I really like the idea of the cover page of your book, half Indian flag and half Australian flag. That could be much of an interesting thing when there's a cricket match going on.
It actually
It's like
starts there.
taking your book and placing a bet on one of the sides of the. But I think I did miss a very important part in your journey, and I'd like to kind of ask that question. So when you were here, you were done with your uni. What were your goals after your uni, and how did you make that move that we know that you always wanted to get your parents over here, your family over here? How did that really happen? Because that is a really challenging aspect.
Yeah. So when I finished my uni, like a lot of migrant students, I would say my first goal was to get residency. So to do my IELTS exam, get the 7 in each at that time with my masters was something that I had been preparing for. Then it was like, okay, how do I get a job in my field? So, or at the same time, how do I keep earning money? Because at that time I had to do some volunteer work in IT to be able to get the experience. But at the same time, I would get up at like 5 a.m., go and do a full time till 2 o'clock at McDonald's. And then in the evening, I'll go to a call center where I was helping with their server and all that work. And then I'll go home at night and repeat the same thing. So that's how I started my IT career here, I would say. And then slowly applying for jobs along with that, trying to find how I can go and do interviews, build relationships with HR managers or people who are hiring. And I was lucky to get a job at realestate.com.au. So
Wow.
that's where I started into tech support. That's where I worked for about 8.5 years. And like working there, like, I like challenging myself. So like I got into the account management role, applied into like other aspects of the business. And so that became my Monday to Friday set job. And then on the weekends, I'll have another job, whether it's going to work at McDonald's or going to work I started working in a fashion shop, like a retail store. Saturday and Sundays, I'll work there. So that's what helped me, say 10 years head down, no days off. So say close to 4,000 days. That's what it took to change the whole cycle of the people close to me. I would say the thought was, okay, if I've got this far, this is good. And I have the confidence that if I applied for my mom and dad's and brother's residency, it's going to be about $170,000. It was based on a calculation that it's going to take 4 years to process this. If I'm saving at this rate, that by the time the file opens up, I'll have that money. So that's how I kind of worked it out. It was based on a wish, and be like, hey, I think there's a possibility when you look back at the drawing board that I can make them part of the life that I'm lucky to have. So that's how I kind of engineered, is what I would say, their trip to Australia.
That's amazing. That's genius, I would say. I can see this recurring theme in your life, or I would say the mindset. Like you are extremely focused. You take one goal at a time, and then you go all in. You have your plans just drawn out very clearly. You have your set goals, and then you go and work for that. Wow, that is a lot. 10 years of working in and out, not giving yourself a lot of break. Now, for everyone who's listening to us, to each their own, I would say, whatever it takes for you to do what you like, however things work out for you. But the crux of the story, I would say, is to have a plan, have a goal, have your actions, and just keep following it, because you will definitely achieve it. The reason a lot of us we feel that we are not achieving what we are dreaming about is because I think we have not really made a concrete plan out of it. There's not a goal written down, there's a not concrete plan out of it, there's not a well researched plan out of it, and then we are not putting enough action that really requires. Now, whether the outcome is what we really want or not, something that's never in our hands, but having a clear goal, putting that into actions, and really working on that every day, that is what will get you where you want to. So thank you so much, Devesh, for being on my first step ever. uh, I do like to end by asking one more question, because I think the 10 years that you spent then was very, very I don't know, grueling. It sounds grueling, but how did you feel around that time now when you look back?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me as well. Um, and to answer your question, I loved every part of it. I'd do it again. It was the young Divesh who needed that purpose. And if I look back at that, like, or when I'm 60 years old, if I look back at the roadmap, I think it was one of the best days of my life, where I would get up, I would go and close a deal, or it gave me the um, ability to be able to solve a lot of problems that the naughty Divesh in school time no one thought could. Also, like, it's helped me help other people. Um, like, give an opportunity at least. So yeah, I mean, I kind of miss those days. Like, I kind of thrive towards it. It a lot happened in it. Like, same attitude. Like, that's how I met my wife. I met my wife traveling to work on the train.
Oh, lovely.
So like, a lot of good things came out of it as well. So like, she's from the countryside. Like, parents are farmers. So, and then there was the whole challenge of that whole migrant journey of convincing my Indian parents to let me marry an Aussie girl as well. So all those things. So yeah, like, I think they were the best days. Like, I miss them.
I think we have missed a very important part of your story already. But we would love to have you again and probably delve more into relationships, and how that is that one can really manage while you are living in a different country. But thank you so much, Devesh. One thing I like to kind of mention over here, like from my side, I felt like, oh my God, that is such a tough journey that. But from listening to you, it gave me another aha moment, in my head, is that the reason that you were able to do what you did in those 10 years and beyond that is because you had a purpose that you really, really wanted to, that was a heartfelt purpose, and doing all that didn't seem like a burden or a job that you had to get done. You were enjoying that. And the takeaway or the aha moment for my listeners is that set the goals, set the goals, or something that really that drives you to do that every day, that when you're doing it for those many years to reach whatever you want, you have joy in doing that. And that's when you know that what you're doing is in alignment to what you're doing. And if you feel that you're not feeling the joy in what you're doing, probably this could be one thing, that maybe this is not what is really aligned with what you really ever wanted. So thank you so much, Devesh. It was such a lovely chat, and getting to know your journey.
Uh,
To all my listeners, thank you so much for tuning and staying up till here, because I know that Devesh's journey must have definitely got you glued. And if you're a migrant, or even if you are moving to different city within your own country, because that's quite a common thing these days. And dealing what comes with it is something that we really have to kind of understand, that the emotions sometimes it just takes over you and you lose sight of what you're doing. So having a, I think, focus like Devesh has shared today. I think that's amazing. Have a focus, have your plan, have your goals, and just enjoy while doing this. Divesh, I always request my guest speakers to leave our listeners with a quote or a saying that they really resonate with.
Of saying a quote, I think you used a couple that I live and breathe. Like the hardest battles are given to the bravest soldiers. But there is one in Punjabi, I would say, is like Jind meri hai, mitti diye teri. It means like at the end of the day, you're going to be part of the mud, the clay, and gonna go back into earth.
Ashes.
Like one thing we did not cover was towards the ending of finishing my book, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. So like, and that was a good reminder to live my best every day, to whatever the purpose is or whatever time I'm left with here. I would say just remembering that we're not here forever. All the money you'll make or whatever you're trying to buy is not going to go with you. Is what you actually leave others with. Is definitely something that will stay once you're gone. That's probably the only thing you realistically can. So I think keeping that in mind, of course, you've got your own challenges, but at the same time, remembering, believe me, there's people going through this. So if you can make that a part of your life somewhere, that probably is something good to do for others. And in my case, it actually has given me more strength. Like if you would have just said, this is my problem, though I have to do this for myself, I'll be very lazy probably. When it comes to others, it like or helping others do better or stuff, it's been I've found that it's been one of my motivations.
True, that's so true. And it's really, I think, very difficult to see someone go through a very challenging situation like you have, but you have passed through that. And I think we know by far, we now have an idea that what kind of focus and resilience you have, and probably that is what has helped you pass through one of the most difficult phases of your life. Thank you so much, Divesh, again, for sharing such important phases of your life, which definitely has changed a lot for you, and also made you more stronger, made you believe in what you do and who you are. So thank you so much for being on my first step ever. And to all my listeners out there, as I always say, start believing in yourself and keep believing in yourself. And before we let you go, I would love to say that you will find a lot about Devesh, his book, the app that we talk about, the Migrant Circle, and the community in the show notes. So do follow and check. And if you really liked what Devesh mentioned today, feel free to follow him on LinkedIn. And as I say, see you next time.